Hello, my name is Ryan Gottfredson, and I'm the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestselling author of the books Success Mindsets and The Elevated Leader. And I'm a leadership development consultant that works with organizations all over the world to help them elevate their leaders and executives. And across this work, I think the most meaningful work that I do is working with executives, because here's what I've learned. Is if an executive or an executive team wants to help their organization to elevate, they first need to elevate. It's really impossible for an organization to elevate and operate at a level above the sophistication of its executive team. So I find it very powerful to work with executives and to help them to elevate. Now, in my process of kind of developing curriculum, if you will, to work with executives and executive teams, I've studied some of the most vertically developed leaders out there. Now, here's what I know as it relates to vertical development. Is across executives, 7% operate at the base level. I call this Mind 1.0. 85% of executives, most executives, operate at a moderate level of vertical development. I call this Mind 2.0. And only 8% of executives operate at that third level of vertical development. I call this Mind 3.0. And so one of the things that I've done is I've been passionate about identifying Mind 3.0 leaders and studying them. And what do they do differently from Mind 2.0 leaders, from most leaders? And let me give you a taste of some of the executives that I've studied. So here, as you can see here, we've got Satya Nadella at Microsoft, Alan Mulally at Ford, Reed Hastings at Netflix, and then Herbert Hainer at Adidas. These are just a few examples. But as I've studied these leaders, I find that they actually prioritize the same things. And what they prioritize is very different than what most leaders prioritize. What I find most leaders prioritize results or outcomes of some form. These leaders, what they prioritize is establishing a strong leadership foundation to lead from. They know that they can't have success as a leader in the long term without establishing that foundation. And so they're very passionate about establishing this foundation. Now, this foundation is similar to the foundation that you see of this little coffee table. Is that there are, I find, generally kind of 4 different legs, but they are interconnected. Now, what are these 4 different legs or pillars? One pillar is a purpose statement. They want to be very clear about explaining why the organization does what it does. The next pillar is a mission statement, which explains what the organization does. Third pillar is a vision statement, which explains where the organization is going. And then the last pillar is a value statement, which is generally a collection of values that explains how they go about doing their work. Now, what I've found is that the most vertically developed leaders are intensely focused on ensuring clarity on all 4 of these things. What I find is that those mid-level executives, they don't like to spend a lot of time here because they feel like it takes away from the work that they could do to generate results and outcomes. So this is primarily what sets leaders apart. Now, here's the benefit of this, is that when these 4 interconnected elements exist, it allows these leaders to create a healthy culture, foster employee engagement, foster greater levels of employee agility, greater accountability in the workforce, and ultimately long-term growth. The reality is these elements will not be present without these 4 pillars. And that's what these most vertically developed leaders understand. Is if they and their organization is going to be successful, they need to prioritize and spend time focusing on laying this foundation. In fact, Satya Nadella in his book Hit Refresh said, "I spent my first year listening so that I could ensure that I was establishing the proper leadership foundation." He prioritized a purpose statement and mission statement, a vision statement, and started to generate values in the organization, leading with a growth mindset. So these are some examples. So if you're a leader, I want you to ask yourself, to what degree are you prioritizing your leadership foundation? How clear are you on these 4 things? The purpose statement, mission statement, vision statement, and value statement. Now, these may not seem very attractive to you if you're not very vertically developed, but these are the most important things for the most vertically developed leaders.